Hello, Dolly. No, wait. Goodbye, Dolly. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 horror movie dolls.
Now this is a real homecoming.
For this list, we're looking at horror cinema's absolutely creepiest, scariest, and murder-y-est dolls. We're looking at horror movie dolls only, so creepy toys like Sid's creations from Toy Story are not eligible.
They're gonna eat us, Buzz!
Good luck sleeping if you have one of these in your bedroom. Number 20. Lily, Finders Keepers. Some scary dolls play it subtle, looking outwardly innocent, if maybe a little creepy. But this tiny terror goes all in, looking like pure nightmare fuel right from the start. Found by a young girl in the vents of her new home, the first doll on our list is one of the scariest looking, featuring deadly pale skin, numerous scars and marks, and lifeless black eyes.
What's that?
What's what?
Claire.
Please, Mommy, can I keep her?
She almost looks like the world's scariest Funko Pop. What child in their right mind would look at this and not immediately run for the hills? It's also possessed by a murdered child, so we'd advise leaving this one be if you find her. Number 19. Wooden Doll, Suddenly in the Dark, also known as Suddenly at Midnight. This little-known Korean horror film begins when a family hires a new housemaid, Miyoke. Things seem fine until Miyoke is seen holding a spectacularly creepy doll, one that housewife Sun-hee had been seeing in her nightmares. Sun-hee begins to suspect Miyoke of trying to take her place, and her visions of the doll become more and more violent and nightmarish. But is it all just in her head, or are Miyoke and the doll really up to no good? Honestly, we'd want that doll out of our house either way. This flick is definitely recommended for fans of evil doll movies and Asian horror. Number 18. Vampire Clay, Vampire Clay. Another creepy doll that puts its creep factor front and center, the lump of killer clay at the center of this Japanese horror comedy is not something you want to see your kid bringing home from art class. A shape-shifting entity formed out of old clay found in the woods after an earthquake, the clay monster looks terrifying even before it begins feasting on human flesh. Much like our last few entries, it's the dead, lifeless eyes that really bring the look home, and make the doll scary enough to make our list, as well as, all the murder and mayhem it spreads around. Number 17. Pinocchio, Pinocchios Revenge.
Sorry, she spotted it before I could get it wrapped. Where'd you find that thing? It looks hand-carved.
The eponymous wooden puppet has been delighting children for over 100 years, having first appeared all the way back in 1883. From the classic Disney film to more modern adaptations, he's almost a cultural icon. But this ain't your great-great-great-grandfather's Pinocchio. The doll is brought home by an attorney whose daughter bonds with it upon finding it. The doll was formerly owned by a supposed killer, but it soon becomes clear who the real culprit was all along when the doll comes alive and goes on a murderous rampage. We're guessing Jiminy Cricket didn't last very long as this guy's conscience. Number 16. Billy, Dead Silence. With a few exceptions, ventriloquists and the dummies they speak through aren't nearly as popular as they used to be. Part of this just comes down to shifting cultural trends and tastes, but it's also because ventriloquist dummies are just plain creepy. This unsettling doll was once used by a ventriloquist named Mary Shaw, who was killed by the townsfolk of Raven's Fair after kidnapping a child.
There are things you remember, and there are things you can't forget. Like the look on that woman's face when she died.
Her vengeful spirit remained, however, with her once-beloved dummy seemingly housing her tormented soul. Let this be a lesson, kids. Don't ever make fun of ventriloquists, especially ones whose dummies already look like they're straight out of a horror movie.
I think we should show this boy just how real I am. I'm just as real as him.
No, I'm afraid we must go on with the show.
No! I'm as real as you are, and I'll
Leave him
show
alone,
you.
Billy.
I'll show him what it's
Listen
like,
to me,
Mother.
that's enough.
I'm as real
No
as you.
more.
Bring him up here.
Number 15. Blade, the Puppet Master franchise.
I'm going to hide you in a nice, safe place.
Charles Band's Puppet Master series is all about creepy dolls, and it amassed quite the cast of creepy and murderous playthings over the years. But without a doubt, the franchise's most iconic character is the blade and hook-handed doll who serves as the poster boy for the series. With a ghostly white face and a serious knack for spilling blood, this puppet quickly rose to become a fan favorite, and even got his own spin-off movie, a first for the franchise. Like all the puppets from the series, this one is animated by a human soul, in this case, a surgeon who worked with the Nazis during World War II. Number 14. The Dolls. Dolls. You know what's scarier than one creepy killer doll? Well, that's easy. A whole horde of the darn things. After being stranded by a thunderstorm, a family takes shelter in a creepy, secluded house, only to find that it's occupied by a seemingly kindly couple and their massive collection of handmade dolls. Honestly, we would have run screaming in the other direction right away, but the family sticks around long enough to see the dolls come alive and try to punish them for their selfish attitudes.
I gotta get out of here.
Not right now.
Why not?
They won't let us. They're deciding what to do with us.
For the sheer volume and variety of tiny terrors this movie has to offer, it easily earns a spot on our list and in our nightmares. Number 13. Hugo, Dead of Night.
I knew you wouldn't leave me, Hugo. I knew you'd come back.
Not for long, my boy. Not for long.
The dummy from this entry is definitely the oldest on our list, having appeared way back in the 1940s. But that doesn't diminish the creep factor even a bit. Appearing in one segment of an anthology horror flick, this is probably the archetypal evil ventriloquist's dummy, bullying and demeaning his hapless partner with a cruelty that's sometimes hard to watch.
Hugo, I wouldn't let you.
Can't stop me, Maxwell. You're finished. Finished.
Suppose I tell him the truth. Suppose I tell him that you made me do it.
Try it and see what happens. They'll put you in the madhouse. But not little Hugo. Oh, no.
Despite only occupying a relatively small chunk of the film, the dummy sequence is by far its most memorable, thanks in no small part to the stellar performance by screen legend Michael Redgrave, who manages to be both sympathetic and terrifying. Number 12. Mannequins. Tourist Trap. We've all probably been creeped out by a department store mannequin at one point or another, but if you haven't, this movie will change that.
Ma'am.
After getting a flat tire, a group of friends finds an old tourist spot filled with creepy store mannequins and managed by the shotgun-wielding Mr. Slauson. Geez, why are so many people running into killer dolls after car trouble? Obviously, the tourist trap turns out to be just as sinister as it looks, and the hapless friends are soon menaced by a masked man and his army of plastic foot soldiers, who are looking to add to their numbers.
The party's over. Oh, you are so pretty. It's a shame you have to die.
Number 11. Zuni Doll. Trilogy of Terror. Another anthology movie with a segment dedicated to a killer doll, this entry should serve as a warning against impulse shopping. After going shopping, Amelia, played by the great Karen Black, returns home with, among other things, a doll carved in the likeness of a Zuni hunter.
It's really interesting. There's supposed to be some Zuni hunter's spirit inside of it. And there's a golden chain wrapped around it to keep the spirit from making the doll come to life.
But rather than just a piece of harmless decoration, the doll is revealed to be a malevolent entity possessed by a spirit called He Who Kills. The spirit lives up to its name and viciously attacks its new owner, who by now is definitely feeling a hint of buyer's remorse. Next time, leave it on the shelf, lady. Number 10. Pin.
Hi, Pin. Hi, Pin.
Anatomical dummies can be a great way to teach anatomy and medicine, but you're not alone if the sight of a life-sized, skinless human gives you the heebie-jeebies. The mentally unbalanced Leon, on the other hand, develops a strange fixation on the anatomical dummy created by his doctor, and even starts hearing it talk to him.
I really appreciate your advice.
Anytime. You and I have a great deal to talk about.
Soon, Leon is being ordered by his new friend to kill, an order he carries out. Other movies take the concept of a killer doll or dummy literally, but this one instead deals with plain old human insanity that heavily features an unnerving doll. Either way, this lesser and Canadian horror film is one we definitely encourage you to seek out.
We didn't do it for Ursula. We did it for you.
Number 9. Dolly, Dolly Dearest.
Good night, Dolly. You're gonna be my new playmate. You're gonna be my only playmate.
You know how it goes sometimes. You buy an old doll factory in Mexico, and wouldn't you know it, a nearby archaeological expedition accidentally releases an ancient Mayan spirit that possesses a nearby doll. Next thing you know, your daughter has picked the doll up and your household is thrown into turmoil. We've all been there, really.
She's in here with me. She belongs to me. You'll never get her back now. We're together forever.
While it may have a pretty bonkers premise, this early 90s killer doll movie generates a lot of scares by playing to the inherent creepiness of porcelain dolls, and throwing in some good old-fashioned demonic possession for good measure.
Oh, goody. We're going for a ride.
Get out of my way.
Jessica, let's play with Mommy.
Number 8. Brahms, the Boy franchise. Babysitting isn't the easiest gig, but this probably sounded like a cushy, if unusual, job. After traveling to England, Greta is offered a job as a nanny in a big spooky mansion. The catch?
And this is our son, Brahms.
She's serving as a nanny to a doll named Brahms, which is doted on by a kindly couple. We'd be a little skeptical, but in this economy, you take a job where you can get it. Naturally, being alone in a gothic mansion with a creepy doll boy, Greta gets spooked out and begins to suspect that Brahms is more than just a doll. Unfortunately for Greta, her suspicions just may be correct.
It's Brahms.
It can't be.
Number 7. Slappy, the Goosebumps franchise.
I think it's time I started pulling the strings in this relationship. Tonight is gonna be the best story you've ever written. All of your children are coming out to play.
Undoubtedly one of, if not the most iconic face of the Goosebumps franchise, R.L. Stine's entry into the canon of horrific dolls is one 90s kids should know well.
Hey, Sarah, wanna play?
First appearing in the 1993 Goosebumps book Night of the Living Dummy, he started out as a normal ventriloquist's dummy before coming alive and wreaking his own very special kind of pint-sized havoc, talking some serious smack the whole time. Naturally, his place as one of the breakout characters earned him appearances on the Goosebumps TV show and movies, allowing him to terrify whole new generations of children even after all these years.
Follow the scent. Lead me to Stein.
Number 6. Fats, Magic. Before he was terrifying the world as Hannibal Lecter, the legendary Anthony Hopkins starred as Corky, a mentally ill ventriloquist whose foul-mouthed dummy seemingly served as a mouth for Corky's inner turmoil and anger. This is another dummy who's terrifying not because of some magic spell or demonic possession, but because he's a manifestation of a far more human kind of darkness, one that can lurk just under the surface waiting to be given a voice.
Stop the postman! How? With what? Me!
He's also creepy as all get out to look at, so much so that Hopkins refused to have it in his house, and the trailer was removed from TV broadcasts after scaring too many children.
There's one thing about me, I'm big. But then earlier today when I begged you, pleaded not to be left behind, and you pissed ice water all over me, well, that tore it. If I'm boring you, please walk around. I don't care.
Number 5. Tiffany, the Child's Play franchise. Psychos whose souls have become trapped inside a doll need love too, you know. After 3 cinematic outings, serial killer turned possessed doll Chucky was given a love interest when an old flame found herself similarly trapped in a doll's body. And she's been a staple of the franchise ever since.
Barbie, eat your heart out.
The Bonnie to Chucky's Clyde, she's followed him through good times and bad, spilling blood and serving one-liners the whole time.
I think they make a cute couple. And if you ask me, it'd be a shame to break them up, if you know what I mean.
The two even eventually had a kid together, making them the premier killer doll family in all of horror. Not the most hard-fought distinction, but a distinction all the same.
We didn't.
Oh, sweet face, come to mommy.
Number 4. Clown Doll, Poltergeist. Between ghosts, portals to the afterlife, and corpses exploding from the ground, Tobe Hooper's 1982 horror classic has no shortage of stuff to be terrified by. But when we think back to the film or revisit it on Halloween, nothing gets the hairs on our neck raised quite like this clown doll that comes alive in the final act to menace young Robbie Freeling. Maybe it's the slow build-up, the stretching arms and demonic face, or the fact that clown dolls are always scary anyway, but this scene has us pulling the covers over our heads every single time without fail, even after nearly 4 decades of repeat viewing. Number 3. Billy, the Saw franchise. Imagine you wake up in a dingy bathroom, chained to a pipe, totally unaware of how you got there. By this point, you're probably already scared out of your wits, but then in trundles a creepy doll on a tricycle who tells you he wants to play a game.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive.
Yep, we'd probably have a complete breakdown around now too. The avatar for the mysterious Jigsaw killer and poster boy of the Saw franchise, this iconic and often misnamed puppet is one of the most recognizable faces in horror these days. Just pray that the next time you see him is on a t-shirt or a movie poster, and not when you wake up in a strange bathroom. Number 2. Annabelle, the Conjuring universe.
Then one day it was in a completely different room. It was moving around by itself.
Over the course of their years as paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren claim to have encountered numerous terrifying entities, but few have become as indelibly linked with their legacy as this demonically possessed doll. In real life, the doll in question is a normal enough looking Raggedy Ann doll, but when the Warrens went to the big screen in the Conjuring movies, the doll was reimagined as a petrifying plaything with a face that screams, "I am absolutely evil and should be run from at high speeds." Hey, at least the movie version of the doll is one you can immediately tell should be avoided. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few creepy honorable mentions. Mannequins of Horror, Asylum, also known as House of Crazies.
These are not ordinary figures. The eyes were made to see. Inside each skull is a perfectly proportioned brain, perfectly capable of functioning.
You talk about them as though they were alive.
That's the final step.
Susie, May.
Her name is Susie. Susie was the first doll I ever made. She was my best friend, and now she'll be yours.
Voodoo Dolls, Tales from the Hood. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Chucky, the Child's Play franchise.
Hello, John. Over here. Hi. It's me, Chucky. What do you think? The gree work?
He may not be the first killer doll, but this notorious toy is undisputedly the most iconic. First appearing in 1988's Child's Play, the serial killer turned evil toy has become horror royalty, with numerous sequels, the aforementioned family, and a devoted fan base.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Once a human occultist named Charles Lee Ray, he transferred his soul into a good guy doll after being fatally wounded, a move that probably seemed like a good idea at the time. All these years later, he's still around and kicking, and still in doll form despite his efforts to find a new body. After all, you can't keep a good guy down.
I'm one of the most notorious slashers in history, and I don't want to give that up. I am Chucky, the killer doll, and I dig it!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.